other space rugged, but we're back. And Amy, if your mic's still working, terribly sorry. Please, an introduction.
Sure. Hi, I'm Amy V, and I am a first mate with Pirate Chain. Um, yeah, happy to be here. I help work on events and marketing for Pirate Chain.
Awesome. And all independent like volunteers who help with like marketing and with partnerships. Is that correct?
Yes, we are a decentralized volunteer organization. Sorry, I think I'm getting an echo on my end, so not
Okay.
don't you guys can hear me.
1 second. I think that's me. Okay. I think that's my audio problem sorted. Right. So yeah, pressing on. Could we get perhaps like a quick introduction? What is Pirate Chain? Um, it's similar in some ways to Zcash. Perhaps we could help point out some of the technical differences between the two projects.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm starting having a few audio issues on my end too for some reason, but I'm gonna try to do my best without my headphones in. I'm just got speakerphone on now. But yeah, Pirate Chain, we're a fork of Zcash essentially. We launched in 2018, and it was an experiment essentially. We wanted to see if we could have a chain using zk snarks with fully shielded transactions without the optional privacy that Zcash has. And also we were interested in integrating the delayed proof of work that Komodo offers. So those are the two big technical differences between Pirate Chain and Zcash. We don't have optional privacy. We only have shielded transactions. And we also incorporated delayed proof of work, which is a feature offered by Komodo. We're not dependent on it. It's basically just a bonus. But with delayed proof of work, what happens is the hash from the Pirate Chain blockchain is also broadcast to the Komodo blockchain and to Litecoin's blockchain. So in order to do a successful 51% attack against Pirate Chain, you need 51% of the hash power of Pirate Chain, Komodo, and Litecoin, which obviously is a ton of resources. It makes it incredibly difficult to do one of these attacks. And it's very beneficial, especially in the early days of a chain, to protect against something like that. And we're not dependent on it. We could, we're a fully independent blockchain that could be removed, and we operate just like any other blockchain. But it kind of gives us a bonus protection against, certain threats.
Yeah, and I wanted to add a little bit to that as well. Yeah, Pirate Chain is a privacy coin that's 100% private by default. So all of the transaction data for the sender, receiver, and amounts are 100% shielded by default with no metadata revealed. So that's where we took the technology of Zcash and made it private by default. So thank you to Zcash for that wonderful ZK Snark technology. With Pirate Chain, you can also give a view key to share information when necessary. So again, our technology is based off of Zcash, but with transactions shielded 100%. And the ticker symbol is ARRR, or R for pirates. And you can find us on piratechain.com.
So that's super interesting. Thank you, Amy. So essentially, Pirate Chain is similar to Zcash, although everything is fully shielded, and it also has this delayed proof of work, which, as I understand correctly, like takes snapshots of the Litecoin chain and the Komodo chain, and this kind of provides additional network security, uh, which is that's quite interesting. I think Zcash, as of fairly recently, is also pursuing like a path of having like a hybrid system where we have well, proof of work, and we have hybrid proof of stake. And we're doing this primarily to secure the network better and increase transaction finality, I suppose. So yeah, thank you for the brief introduction on Pirate Chain. You gave me a website. I recently went to download a Pirate Chain wallet, and I wasn't able to. I had to go with Edge Wallet. So where can I get? Is there like an official Pirate Chain wallet that we can use.
Are you talking a mobile wallet or for a PC?
Mobile wallet.
Yeah, our mobile wallets are being worked on right now. We do have an official mobile wallet. It's called Skull Island, or on the App Store, it's usually just under Pirate Chain. We try to recommend Edge Wallet to people just because they have a really good UI and really good customer support and stuff like that. So we've been tending to direct people towards Edge Wallet when they're looking for a mobile wallet solution. But for full nodes, we do have a really great full node that I'm very proud of called Treasure Chest that you can also find on the website, as well as a light wallet for a desktop that you can find on the website. So, but for mobile wallets, we tend to be recommending Edge Wallet these days, even though our mobile wallets are being rebuilt and rewritten in a different language, and so they should be working better. But we just find Edge Wallet works really well, and they have great customer support, and they have supported the hell out of Pirate Chain, so we really like supporting Edge.
For sure. Pool is awesome, and Edge Wallet works quite well with Zcash as well. It's really interesting that you can have one wallet with multiple shielded assets available on it. How about acquiring R? Because again, I kind of ran into the issue. I downloaded Edge Wallet, but I couldn't find where to purchase Pirate Chain for myself.
Yeah, Edge Wallet does have swap services, but they use, a third-party exchange, I believe, for that. So it's kind of just depends on the time. Sometimes there's orders that you can fill on Edge Wallet. The places with the most liquidity for Pirate Chain is MEXC and Trade Ogre. And that's where majority of people buy them. They both have plenty of liquidity to fill orders at any price. And then we also like to point people towards the atomic swaps Pirate Chain has on Komodo Wallet, which also has Zcash atomic swaps. So you could do shielded swaps in between Zcash and Pirate Chain there on Komodo Wallet. And their website is komodowallet.com. If you guys aren't familiar with what atomic swaps are, they're basically a decentralized exchange where you're swapping directly from your wallet to the other person's wallet without an intermediary. So they're the most decentralized way to buy any cryptocurrency. Komodo Wallet's got hundreds on there. They got, Bitcoin, Litecoin, Doge, all the big ones, as well as some privacy coins like Zcash and Pirate Chain. So we try to encourage people to go and use Komodo Wallet, but we understand, centralized exchanges do give some convenience a lot of times. So the exchanges with the most liquidity are TradeOgre and MEXC, which both of those are non-KYC. And I haven't had any issues with either of them. Obviously, we don't endorse any exchanges, but we do inform people, whether they're working well or not. And I've had a good experience with both of those at this point.
Awesome. Yeah. What would the opposite of endorsing centralized exchanges be? Because yeah.
Yeah, and I don't want to. I don't trust any of them. Obviously, I don't leave my coins there. You got to pull out your coins right away. But they are very convenient, and I haven't heard any shady business with TradeOgre or MEXC. But the way centralized exchanges usually go is they work well until they don't,
Right.
until the rug gets pulled or something like that. So I think it's relatively safe to use these as long as you get in and out. You pull your coins out right away.
Indeed.
Though we certainly don't endorse them.
Yes, and so I'm not sure you're aware, but the Zcash of the Zcash Binance debacle, in which Binance has placed what they call a monitoring tag on ZEC and several other assets. It seems, yeah, they just placed this tag which dissuades visitors on the exchange from interacting with it or trying it out. And it's been there for several months with this threat of delisting. And so, yeah, we should be moving more towards decentralized exchanges. I have tried Komodo Dex or Atomic Wallet. It keeps changing names. But
they were
yeah,
Atomic Dex. They were Atomic Dex and changed their name to Komodo Wallet about a year ago because they kept getting confusion with Atomic Wallet, which was a different multi-coin wallet that had lots of problems, and people kept confusing them. So they changed their name to Komodo Wallet.
I see. Okay. Yeah, I remember there was an audit, there was an audit of Atomic Wallet, and there was some vulnerability there some time ago, maybe 2 years ago. Right. So we've
Yeah, I
covered.
think some people
Yeah.
lost some coins there too. I think there were some vulnerabilities where some coins were they got hacked or something. There's some vulnerability that was taken advantage of. They you don't remember all the details, but it was a pretty big deal at the time, and people
Yeah.
kept confusing that with atomic decks. So atomic decks changed their name, so there wouldn't be any confusion.
Yeah. I do think though as well because there's Zcash a Maya protocol integration in the works at the moment, and there is recently this successful integration with near intents. And so it's possible that because of the similarities between Pirate Chain and Zcash, that other coins also get support on these DEX platforms.
Yeah, if they've already incorporated Zcash, especially shielded Zcash, then it really should
Yeah. So I suppose.
to them.
Sorry, you cut out there.
Oh, I was just saying, I'd love to hear more about that. Maybe we can talk about it off the call later.
Yeah, sure. And yeah, in case people weren't aware, we have been in talks with the Pirate Chain community for some time now. We've had a couple of conversations. It's always been pretty cool. Um, and for the community that's listening, I think his name is Stevo or something, and he's a mod on the Zcash Global Discord. So there's pirate chainers among us.
Yeah, Steve is great. He does a ton of work for us. He really helps us look more professional. He does some of our logo designs and moderation and stuff like that. He's a great resource. Yeah, he goes by his
Yeah.
Discord name now is Quirky Robots, but yeah, everybody he's worked a lot with Library also, Library and Odyssey, so he's been around crypto for a long time. He loves Zcash and he loves Pirate Chain, so he's a great resource.
Yes. Okay, so we've covered uh, like the basics, fundamentals of Pirate Chain and some of the wallets and dexes that people can use. But I suppose we haven't talked about like the primary reason, the why. Why should someone use Pirate Chain? What yeah, where does private payments come in? Like you think of crypto these days, and it's fairly easy to buy anything with USDC on Base or Ethereum or what have you. Um, and so, why should someone consider using Pirate Chain or shielded payments?
Well, I mean, when you're comparing it to, a stable coin on another network, I think the biggest, drawback is that they're not decentralized. There are some stable coins that are trying to be more decentralized, but I don't think any, I know this might be a controversial take, but I don't think any of them are truly decentralized. And obviously things like USDC and USDT like are definitely not decentralized at all. They are centralized. They do work with authorities. They do, they're just not decentralized at all. They're backed by government. They're essentially just a way to spread dollar dominance. They're backed by government debt. They're fully transparent. You can track and trace them anywhere. The funds can be frozen, the funds can be seized, they can be destroyed. So you really don't have that much control over them at all. And I don't think that stablecoins solve the problems that, Bitcoin and cryptocurrency was invented to solve to begin with. I know they are convenient because they hold a stable value, but they really aren't, giving us a true alternative to fiat. They're just another version of fiat, in my opinion. They're, pegged to dollars and they are backed by government. USDC, Circle, and Tether. They're both buying U.S. Treasuries, and that's how, that's what they're backed by. So they're essentially backed by the same thing as the U.S. dollar. They're backed by debt, and this doesn't solve the issue of, creating alternatives to fiat money that we have control over that can't be stopped by anybody or even corrupt governments. I know a lot of these crypto companies, they like to comply with, the US government and their regulations and stuff like that, which is fine, but at some point you're like, where's the line drawn? Who decides who makes those rules? Like if Iran tomorrow issued a sanction list, is USDC or Tether, are they going to honor their sanction list? If some terrorist group takes over a small country and starts putting out their own sanction lists, are we going to comply with those? Like, where is the line drawn? Like, and who decides that? So we believe it's better to not give anyone that power and have truly decentralized networks. So even though it does seem like, maybe some Western governments may be using it honestly, just trying to stop terrorism, terrorism funds from flowing or drug money or something like that, you have to ask yourself at what cost are they doing that? Because they're, and and who draws that line? Who gets to decide who gets to use the network and who doesn't? Because especially cryptocurrency is very beneficial to, dissidents in, third world countries and stuff like that, like places like
Yeah,
Iran and Afghanistan. They really crack down on their population and what they're allowed to do. In Afghanistan, women can't even go to school, so we're building payment networks that, even corrupt governments in Afghanistan or Iran or something can't stop and give their people some freedom and some individual choice to be able to go and do business still, or maybe pay for their daughters to go to school without being able to be tracked or their payments being stopped by their government. So I think when you centralize it like that, it kind of defeats the entire purpose of having, cryptocurrency, and that, like, it goes against the original ethos of Bitcoin,
fully
essentially. And
agree.
it's it's not what we're fighting. We're not fighting for the same thing. Some, these centralized stable coins are trying to build convenient payment networks, which it's fine, but we're trying to build unstoppable private payment networks. And I think we're fighting for something completely different.
Absolutely. And so
Yeah,
you
I
mentioned,
was wondering.
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I wanted to add to that myself. Yeah, so I think the key here for private payments is that Pirate Chain is 100% private by default, where everything with the transaction data, with the sender, receiver, and amount, they're always 100% shielded by default with no metadata revealed. Now, if you have to reveal that information for some reason, you can give a view key to share information when necessary, but that the key is it's 100% private by default. Now, what would be great for liquidity is if someone built, like when you were talking about the other networks, if there was like a bridge between something like Zcash, Z addresses to Pirate Chain where it's private by default. So then you would have that privacy layer. But yeah, again, moving to a network that's 100% private by default, if someone were to build that bridge, or what's hard is everything has to be Z addresses to remain private, but hopefully that or something that there's someone named the Cone Network that's working on that. But yeah, I think the key again with Pirate Chain is 100% privacy by default using the Zcash ZK Snark technology.
Awesome. Yeah.
Awesome.
And so just to jump back to the point that Dan was making, um, yeah, so you said essentially like it has to be fully censorship resistant for it to work correctly. There's something Naomi Brockwell posted like an hour ago, and it says nothing to hide falls apart when those in power get to redefine what's wrong. Privacy is your protection against tyranny. That's like essentially 100% of what you were saying, in which, yeah, it could turn out that the government that you live under today is perfectly fine. In the next 5 years, they could be like going through your tweets to find like things, excuses to freeze your USDC or something.
Yeah, I think that's really important. We're not building currency for the next 4 years or for the next administration. We're trying to build currency for the next 100 years or 1,000 years. And I
Mm-hmm.
think when you start catering to governments and stuff like that, you're basically saying we're not looking at the long term. Because if history has told us anything, governments come and go, good governments come in, corrupt governments come in, and it's not resistant. It's not time tested, and we're trying to build something that can potentially last forever and be a currency people can use far into their future, that our children or our grandchildren can use. So
Indeed.
yeah, I think giving it something that can't be controlled, not even having the option to control, like there are some networks out there that are kind of centralized, and right now they're acting great. They're permissionless, letting everybody use them. But as long as there's that option that they could stop people from using them, I think it's kind of a non-starter for me. I don't want to invest my time and my money into something that could potentially be completely valueless in the next administration or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's very important. Naomi's the best. We love Naomi Brockwell. She's awesome.
She is, yeah. So I mean, it's quite fascinating the different approaches that several of these shielded projects take towards like resolving this unstoppable private money thing. And so we recently spoke with Ironfish, and they, I think, were the first multi-asset shielded pool. So you can hold the fish, the token, or you can hold USDC. But to bridge into their shielded pool, your wallet needs to be kind of screened by, I forget the company, but essentially they're checking compliance. And so I don't
Yeah,
know.
they're
This,
using the OFAC, sanction list. They, honor that.
indeed. So in some way, this is like a system of permissioning where in some projects that doesn't exist. It would just be a good time to mention that on Zcash, there are several value pools. So there's the transparent sapling and orchard pool, and you're able to transfer value between all of these pools completely permissionlessly. So there's no requirement for you to use transparent addresses at all if you don't want to. And most wallets like Edge or like Zashi, um, you can send transparent funds into them, but you can only spend from a shielded balance. And so it is like private by default. You just get to receive transparent coins.
Yeah, and I think it's great to point out that, like, Zcash not only is permissionless right now, but you guys can't change that. It's in the protocol. Even if, the electric coin company or a bunch of people at Zcash went out to change that, you guys have no control over it because you've built a truly permissionless blockchain. So, and which I think is incredibly important, which is why I support chains like Zcash and Pirate Chain and stuff like that. There is no option for you guys to change that in the future. You're permissionless and you're decentralized.
For sure. And what underpins this decentralization is people running full nodes. And so if you support like the mission of what Zcash and Pirate Chain are trying to achieve, you can run your own node and become a literally become a part of the network itself. So yeah, you
Yeah,
can go to sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, yeah, running full nodes is incredibly important. And I think a lot of people get confused, think it's something really difficult and technical. It's really not that much harder than, having a normal wallet on your computer. You just essentially leave it open all of the time and it takes up more storage space. Other than that, there really is no difference. You just download the wallet, send some funds to it, and leave it open. And just by doing that, you are supporting the network, making it more decentralized and making it more censorship resistant.
Indeed. And
Just
so
wanted to add that for Pirate Chain, the full node wallet is the treasure chest wallet, and you can find that on piratechain.com/wallets.
piratechain.com/wallets. I'll give that a go.
Yep.
Um, Yeah, so I mean, just in the meantime, I'm personally somewhat of a doomer. And so, like, when I think of why people need private payments, why they should be opting to use networks like Pirate Chain and Zcash, is because there are actually risks when you use cryptocurrency. I think on the surface, it can seem like, I don't know, it's a DeFi game, and you can earn money and then like you can save it in USDC and there are no consequences. But I mean, reality is showing an increasing rate in the number of uh, physical attacks. So kidnappings and like people taking hostages. Um, and this is really made possible because people's addresses are public and the amounts that they hold are known. And it's called pseudonymous privacy, where you have your Ethereum address or your Solana address, and because of how many other addresses are interacting on the network, it seems very obfuscated and difficult to track, when in reality these are simply public databases. And with the help of AI, it just becomes so easy for anyone to trace payments and target individuals. If you're interested in learning about this, sorry.
Yeah, fully transparent blockchains. Like, I don't like to beat around the bush. They are dangerously transparent. They put out too
Yeah,
much information. They broadcast your transaction and your entire transaction history to everyone in the world in real time in a very easily searchable database, and it's there forever. There's no getting rid of it. It's an immutable public ledger that's there forever, and it is dangerously transparent. There can be physical attacks and people targeting you because they know how much money you have, but there's also other problems with it. For example, there's lots of talk in Bitcoin and these transparent communities of mining becoming too centralized, and potentially if only a couple mining firms are doing the majority of the mining, that they could start being pressured by OFAC or government regulations to start censoring certain transactions. And I like to point out with, Zcash shielded transactions and with Pirate Chain, they really don't have the ability to do that because the miners cannot see where the fund, they get, OFAC sends them addresses that they have to sanction. So money coming to or from those addresses, they're not allowed, they're not supposed to process those transactions. But if you use a private blockchain, then the miners have no option to do it because they cannot see your addresses. They don't know who's sending the money, so they literally can't censor it. And I think that's something that's almost essential. So if OFAC starts sending out uh, cease and desist letters or start threatening Zcash miners for telling them to censor these certain transactions, if they're being done with shielded addresses, they literally can't because they don't see them. They don't know what transactions to censor. So that, like, just as time goes on, we're learning more and more how dangerous the transparency is. Like, we all love Bitcoin. We love what it's offered us. It's changed all of our lives and put us down this direction of building digital currencies that we can use instead of using fiat. But as time goes on, we learn that the privacy is absolutely essential in these blockchains, and we need to have it. It's dangerous not to have it.
For sure. And so, yeah, your example, really good, shows how privacy protects the network itself from becoming a permission system. And so, yeah, governments could ask miners to censor transactions. And when you have a shielded pool, or you could use shielded Coinbase, it defends the miners from like external forces. Another good example, I think, of not how privacy can protect the network, but how privacy can protect users. So there was, I think it was like 2 days ago. No, it was a week ago. There was a Russian American citizen called Xenia Karolina who was accused by security services in Russia that she was raising, I think they charged her on like treason or something. And the reason is she sent $51 in cryptocurrency to like donate to help with the war in Ukraine. And so, yeah, you can donate $50 to a cause that you think is interesting or that you believe in, and you can end up like being held for treason and it becoming like a huge thing. And so, yeah, this using shielded protocols, I think, is the best way to resolve this. Not to harp on, but a bit ago you said that the databases are public forever. Okay, so when we think about transparent coins, Bitcoin and Litecoin and Ethereum and whatever, yeah, all of your transactions will remain there forever. Part of the reason I'm so interested in talking with shielded coins, shielded protocols, is because they offer better protection, essentially. With Monero, as it currently exists, despite the inputs to your transaction being encrypted, it's still on chain. So it still exists amongst its decoys of however many, 16 or whatever. And that can always be whittled down in the next 10 or 20 years. So it's kind of private today, but this privacy cannot be viewed as long lasting. So yeah, that's why I like to speak with other shielded projects, because I feel as a solution, this is one that's got legs. Yeah, any thoughts?
No, yeah, zero knowledge proofs are really an incredible technology, and once it really hits home for people, when you can, they can really understand what zero knowledge proofs do, the way you can prove that something is true without revealing any information to the person you're trying to prove it. Like, it really opens up the doors to like how much you can do with this technology. And I think blockchain is just a start. I think we're going to be using it in a lot of different areas in the future. And I just really think there's no argument that not sharing any information on the blockchain is a superior way to gain privacy, rather than mixing up your information with decoys. decoys. Like you said, we don't know what the future will hold, that we'll be able to whittle down these decoys and lower the anonymity set, or at least the effective anonymity set. And I don't see any reason to do that when we have the option to not reveal anything on the blockchain and still be able to verify that everything is true, verify that there's the right amount of coins in circulation, and that the transactions are valid. Like, the technology's here and we just need to use it. I really think there is no comparison to what zero knowledge proofs, the privacy they can bring. Everything else is kind of just putting a band-aid over a problem when we've solved the problem already.
For sure. And the best thing is, with the number, as the number of shielded transactions increase, the total anonymity set also increases. So over time, things like Zcash and Pirate Chain and Namada and Penumbra just grow even more and more private as more people do transactions. And so, where do you see Pirate Chain in the realm of real-world payments? With utilization of the coin, how are there ways to spend it today?
Well, we do have, a merchant directory. It's called armada.com, ARRRMADA.com. And it's just it's a simple merchant directory. If you're a business or a merchant that wants to accept Pirate Chain, then you can go basically make a listing on this website that links to your personal website where you're accepting Pirate Chain. And that's our main goal, is to increase merchant adoption and increase people using it, because we think that's, it's great to have privacy when storing your funds or saving or something like that, but we think the real power comes from gaining privacy in transactions, being able to buy stuff and do stuff with absolute privacy. And with, something like Pirate Chain and also shielded Zcash transactions, I think I really like to hit home to people how simple it is. It's not doing a shielded Zcash transaction or doing a Pirate Chain transaction is not any more difficult than doing a Bitcoin transaction, or honestly, it's not any more difficult than doing a transaction on PayPal or something like that. So it makes it there's lots of ways to gain privacy online for your cryptocurrency and other things you do. Most of them take some extra steps, are a little more complicated, that a lot of normies are intimidated to go and give a try. But when you're using, ZK Snarks chain and shielded transactions, it's really privacy by default out of the box. You don't have to jump through any extra steps. The only extra thing you can do is potentially use a VPN, especially if you're using a light or a mobile wallet. And that way, whatever nodes you're connecting to can't see your IP address. But if you're just using a VPN and, a Pirate Chain or Zcash shielded wallet, that's really all you have to do. And you do transactions and get absolute privacy out of the box. You don't have to, deal with any mixers. You don't have to be concerned about the nodes you're connecting to, because with the ZK Snarks transactions, they don't have the same vulnerabilities that other privacy coins that use obfuscation to gain privacy. Sometimes they have malicious, Chainalysis is known for setting up malicious nodes to try to de-anonymize transactions and convince people to connect to those malicious nodes. And that is not an issue when you're using, shielded ZK Snarks transactions. Those I'm sorry, excuse me. Those nodes don't have access to any of that data, even though they are processing the transaction for you. They don't have any access to any of that information. So there's no worry about the nodes you're connecting to. There's no worry about having to use mixers. You literally just download the wallet and do the transactions. I believe Zcash and Pirate Chain both have, similar block times for both 1 minute. We have incredibly cheap fees on both of these. So you can literally send money to the other side of the world, millions of dollars, in about a minute for less than a penny, with absolute privacy, and nobody can stop it. And that is incredibly powerful technology that I want to hit home with people. Like that, you don't like DeFi and all these blockchains doing all these other stuff. It's, they're doing some cool stuff and they're doing some useful things, but there's nothing as powerful as being able to do unstoppable private transactions across the world that anybody can do. Anybody that knows how to use a smartphone can do. This is accessible for everybody.
Sure.
And if you haven't tried doing, shielded Zcash transaction or a Pirate transaction, I really encourage you to go download a wallet. You can try Edge Wallet. They have Zcash and Pirate Chain. Go download a wallet. If you want to DM me, if you don't want to go buy some, I'll send you a few Pirate Chain if you DM me or your shielded address, and do a transaction. Get one of your friends to download a wallet too. All they have to do to send money to your friend, they just bring up their Edge wallet, open it up and hit receive, brings up a QR code. The sender scans that QR code, enters the amount, and hits send, and you get absolute privacy and absolute decentralization just like that. It's incredibly easy.
Indeed. Yeah, we had a Zcash conference. One of the developers mentioned that you probably shouldn't put your shielded address, like you shouldn't post it publicly because it's still vulnerable to quantum attack. Just something I might want to share with the Pirate Chain folks.
Yeah, it's never ideal to post your shielded address. And I see people, I also like to brag about how much of a coin they're holding, so they'll share a screenshot of their wallet with their balances and stuff like that. I'd really like to encourage
Yeah.
people not to do that. Like you said, there's quantum computing coming in the future, but I also want to point out that shielded, pools like Zcash has and Pirate Chain are inherently more quantum resistant than transparent chains because essentially quantum computing can use your public address to derive your private key from it, and so when you're not sharing your address as often, then they can't do that essentially. So that's another danger to transparent chains in the future if quantum computing ever does what it's promising to do, that these transparent chains will be very, very easy to get derive your private key from your public key. So that's another way that, privacy is incredibly important in these networks.
Indeed. Yeah, there was something else I was hoping to mention, but it slips my mind. I wonder if we could perhaps open the floor for questions from Pirate Chain or Zcash community. If you've got questions for Dan or Amy, just raise your hand.
Yeah, don't be afraid to speak up, guys. We're ready to answer any questions. We really are excited to, reach out to other communities and, start to build bridges to other communities that believe in privacy and believe in decentralization. We do not want to be hostile to other projects. If anything, we want to embrace each other. We want to work together. Our goal is to create alternatives to fiat. And I am on the side of anybody who is trying to build alternatives to fiat to make the world a more free, more prosperous place for future generations. So I'm not trying to be hostile to anybody. I completely love all of you guys and everybody out there who's fighting for digital privacy. Like, it means the world to me.
We love you too. Yeah, so I was going to mention that you're talking about like how DeFi how many people at the moment in crypto are kind of preoccupied with all the DeFi things, with liquidity pools and farming and all this kind of stuff, earning yield in different ways. But like where crypto came from, where it originated, is private money. That's what the initial purpose of Bitcoin and its predecessors were. And if you look at the amount of like revenue, which is not revenue, but value, which is being transferred on different networks like Venmo or PayPal or Cash App every day, you'll realize that we're still very, very early in terms of adoption. And so having a purely payments focused app, today we call it a wallet, in future it could be different. Having a purely private payments focused app is one of the biggest use cases, if not the biggest use case for cryptocurrency. It has to be said. Yeah, so of course these days we see many advanced networks which can do cool things, but comes down to it, people just want private money. Money is private.
I was wondering if you can speak to the difference between Zcash and Pirate Cash.
We kind of went over this in the beginning, but I don't mind repeating it. Essentially, Pirate Chain, it's Pirate Chain, not Pirate Cash. I think there's some meme coin out there called Pirate Cash, so we don't want people to be confused with that. It's Pirate Chain, and the ticker is ARRR. And essentially, we are a fork of Zcash. It was an experiment, in 2018 when we launched from the Komodo community. We essentially launched in the Komodo Discord of a bunch of people coming together and saying, what could we potentially, have a fully shielded ZK Snarks chain in which, privacy was not optional. Every transaction was private. And we also were interested in incorporating what's called delayed proof of work from Komodo. So that was the essential goal, was to have a chain that's fully shielded without optional privacy, and with delayed proof of work to give us some protection against a 51% attack. And it ended up working. It got a lot of people really excited, and everybody started donating their time and their money to building it and building wallets and stuff like that. We're completely community funded and ran. All of our team is volunteers. None of us get paid to do any of this. And we donate our own time and money for development and marketing and stuff like that. So those are technologically, the big differences is that we do not have optional transparency. It's fully shielded. And we also have delayed proof of work, which gives us some protection against 51% attacks. So those are the major technological differences.
Excellent. Thank you. I appreciate it.
I have a question. Does Pirate Chain use encrypted memos like Zcash wallets do?
Yes, we have those, just like Zcash. We incorporate quite a bit of your technology, like of Zcash technology. We pay very close attention to Zcash. We consider ourselves part of the Zcash community. And we pay very close attention and try to incorporate, most things that you guys do as well.
Thank you. Yeah, so what I would love to see is I went on to armada.com and I'm checking out some of the projects here. What I'd love to see is for those places that accept Pirate Chain, or for the places that already accept Zec, why not accept another shielded asset? The benefits are the same, or they could be different benefits, such as, like, again, having that fully transparent, fully shielded protocol. So yeah, I would like to see wherever Zcash is accepted, people start to look into accepting Pirate Chain as well. It would be quite cool to see. Something quite interesting is, I think the current, don't quote me on this, but the current administration is requiring money services businesses to track payments of $500 or more. I've read somewhere it could be $200, but essentially, if you own a business and you're making a payment of above this threshold, you need to use like a service to like perform all the compliance checks and whatever. So this is actually costing many companies a lot of money, because this threshold has, I think it was initially like $10,000 and now it's down to 500. And so yeah, when they hire these services to perform these checks on every transaction, it becomes super expensive. And if you give people the option of like how to perform payments in like a framework in which they don't receive, like they only receive the necessary information. I think a good example of this is Flexer. So if you have Zashi app, you can buy gift cards and shop in stores, and they essentially only take like an email address, and I think that's it, and a name. And so if you like shops and businesses the means to accept private payments, that's how we kind of move this ecosystem forward, I think.
Yeah, I did not realize that they lowered that threshold, and I didn't realize that private businesses had to report that too. I knew that banks and money transmitters and stuff like that, if it was a transaction over 10,000, that they had to report that. But I did not realize private businesses were supposed to do that too. And I don't know, personally, I have not been doing that, so I guess I got to do some research. Hopefully, I'm not getting myself in trouble here. But yeah,
for me, sorry, I was just gonna say, I mean, according to regulations, like Zcash, Pirate Chain also has view keys. So if you do need to disclose that information, there is a way to do use the view key for when. That's what I'm saying. Use the view key when necessary. Don't put all the transparent information out there when you don't need to.
Yeah, we don't agree.
We're not trying to like make everything a secret and everything hidden away. We were trying to empower people, and Zcash doing the same thing. We're trying to empower people to have control over their own privacy, control over their own data. So you share what you want with who you want, and there's no reason why, from what I understand, with the current laws, at least in the U.S., there is nothing illegal or wrong with what there's no. You can be fully compliant with the laws if you choose to be with Pirate Chain or Zcash. You can share that transaction information with the government or with auditors, or if you're trying to get a loan from a bank and need to share that information, you can with these view keys. Where they could see your transactions without having any control to make transactions or move the funds or anything like that. So it's not about being secret about everything and not sharing anything with anyone. It's about empowering people to have their own control over their own data and share what they want with who they want.
Absolutely, it's consent, not compliance, basically. Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. Yeah, here's my one moment where I won't be a doomer. So I do think that eventually, it could be a few years, but eventually chains will have to have the same level of encryption that Zcash and Pirate Chain have. This is an example we're familiar with, but HTTP, where I think up until 2008 or 9, all web traffic was like in plain text, and now it's like a requirement for web browsers to use HTTPS. And like, even if you're a government employee, you're like, you must also use some other encryption. And business efficiency, shielded pools or similar zero knowledge CKP technology is going to be a requirement from regulators, but we'll see.
That would be absolutely incredible. I hope it moves in that direction. I also believe that, someday, it might be 100 years from now, but we're going to look back at the level of, not just in cryptocurrency, but in all of our digital lives. We're going to look back at how much data we put online publicly for the entire world to see, and be looking back and like, what the hell were we thinking back then? That's so dangerous and so irresponsible. So I do agree that, institutions and governments and businesses, they are going to insist on having privacy in the future. That's got to be the direction we're going. We're seeing the consequences of not having it every single day. So I think we're going to look back at this time in the future and be like, what the hell were we thinking?
So I got a question on what people's thoughts are, and this has kind of been bugging me lately. Is I mean, there's examples in the past where things are not necessarily great, but they're good enough. I mean, you look at like the QWERTY keyboard. It's not the best, but it's good enough. VHS and Betamax, MP3. It's not the best, but it's good enough. And I fear that Bitcoin may be in a position where, yeah, it's not secure, but people just say, well, it's good enough, and they just move on. I'm curious what everyone's thoughts are on that.
Can I respond to that real quick? Because that's a scary thought when people say QWERTY is good enough, or like you said, Bitcoin is good enough. That means our bar of good enough is really bad. And I'm guilty of that too. I don't know, this is just an aside, but I don't know if you guys have heard of the Dvorak keyboard. Like, the QWERTY keyboard was invented to slow people down typing, so that your typewriter keys wouldn't get caught when they, went together. And I'm sort of like, wow, it's like we're handicapping ourselves for good enough. And I mean, that's a sad state of
And
society.
it's still the standard,
I know,
nonetheless.
it's crazy. And same with Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin is, they turn, okay, by the way, I'm going to go on a, rant here, right? It's sort of like Bitcoin. The title of the white paper is Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. Actually, I'll post this in the chat as well. The Pirate Chain white paper is private anonymous cash, right? But I can't believe they turned Bitcoin into, from a fast peer-to-peer payment system, into like they totally did a psyop where now you hodl it or you use it as digital gold. You don't use transactions, right? And it's hopeful to see, like, some of us still in the belief that cryptocurrency was supposed to be used as a currency. And it's hopeful that some of us are on the privacy side for Zcash and Pirate Chain, that we want it to be a private cryptocurrency. But yeah, no, good enough is not good enough. And how do we wake people up is the question.
Yeah, good enough is not good enough. And at this point, it almost seems like the majority of the Bitcoin community is, which I consider myself part of the Bitcoin community. Obviously, I've been around it for a long time and I love Bitcoin. It's changed my life. But it does seem like they have given up any ambitions of being a payment network, which is the power of Bitcoin. Yeah, it can hold some value and go up in value, but the reason it's supposed to go up in value is because it's a superior payment network. It's the best payment, cryptocurrency is the best payment network ever invented. You can send millions of dollars across the globe, and you can do it fast, cheap, and absolutely nobody can stop you.
Yeah, that's where we left off. It was um, using these networks as intended, private money, peer-to-peer private money. Yeah, that's what we're looking for. And there's several like Web2 industries which could use like these methods of payment. If like when you rent a VPS with your, I suppose a fun fun way to close our call today would be like asking you what was the last time you spent cryptocurrency. It doesn't necessarily need to be Pirate Chain. Um, like what? Give me an example of using crypto to buy goods or services.
Well, the last time I've used it was paying people in Pirate Chain for doing work in Pirate Chain or reimbursing. I do that on a regular basis. But my favorite thing to use, cryptocurrency for, which I think is the perfect use case, is to pay for a VPN, because you're paying for a VPN to gain privacy in your internet traffic. And I think it's kind of dumb to use a credit card when you're doing that, when you could use something that's completely private. Now, as of right now, the only one I'm familiar with, or actually there's a couple others, but the only one I've used so far is Molvad that accepts Monero. So I use that once a month to pay for my Monero or my Molvad subscription. But there's also somebody building a VPN that's going to accept Pirate Chain soon. We're kind of doing some work on the payment gateway to make it easier for them. So people have a VPN you can pay for in Pirate Chain. And, but as of right now, I'm still using Molvad and paying with Monero. I'd be interested to hear if there's any that accept Zcash, because I think that's just the perfect, way to get your foot in the door and start actually using it. Because when you're trying to gain privacy on the internet, there's really no reason to pay for that with a credit card and give this, centralized company all your, payment information and your address and stuff, when you could use something private that works even better for shopping for, digital products. Using a privacy coin is just kind of the most obvious thing in my opinion. And so I think if you're interested in getting your foot in the door, start using private, payment networks, digital payment networks, I'd start with a VPN. It's an easy step. It's like $5 a month. So I like Molvad a lot. Here pretty soon we'll be announcing the one that accepts Pirate Chain. So that's a great first step. Everybody should be using a VPN. So you might as well be paying for it with cryptocurrency. So that's my favorite thing to, use privacy coins for.
Yeah, can I add to that as well? I was at a marketplace a week ago Saturday, where we really are trying to build a community network here in Texas, where people do care about freedom and the freedom community. Some of these people are already familiar with cryptocurrency. So I had a little booth there for Pirate Chain, teaching people about crypto, and did some Pirate Chain transactions. And some of the vendors actually do accept Pirate Chain. And silver, which is great. But yeah, it's what's amazing about Zcash and Zcash technology, especially on the privacy side, with all the privacy of ZK snarks, is that with the 1 minute block time, Zcash and Pirate Chain is very, very fast for in-person marketplace transactions. And it's private, we saw this at Monerotopia, where people had issues with wallets because is it like when you first get money into a Monero wallet, is it like a 10 confirmation blocks, even though their Monero's block time is 2 minutes? That's about 20 minutes once you receive money to a wallet to be able to use it again. And that's an issue that we saw in in-person transactions. Or at the Texas marketplace I was at a few months ago, same thing. Someone was asking me, and it was like a 20-minute block time. And they accepted Monero. But it's one of those things where I think this is where Zcash and Zcash based technologies have a real advantage in private peer-to-peer marketplace transactions. So yeah, I think we can show it in usage to see how fast Pirate Chain and Zcash is compared to Monero. And hopefully,
Oh, I'd love to see that.
and we're Pirate Chain's going to be at PorcFest coming up in June, and I know there are people there who accept Monero, and we'll have a booth there for Pirate Chain, so we'll test it out in in-person transactions. We'll see which is faster.
Very cool. I'm looking forward to it. Is that in New Hampshire? The PorcFest thing?
Yeah, porcfest.com. That's porcfest.com.
Cool. Yeah, VPNs, an excellent one. There is one that accepts Zcash now. I think it's called Sentinel DVPN. So yeah, try it out. There's another one called NIM VPN, and we're working on the Zcash integration at the moment. So it should support Sapling, and then later on it will support Orchard. And perhaps if like NIM is a great project, they're super like in support of privacy, preserving crypto. So yeah, if the Zcash one works, I don't think it could be too difficult to modify it to support Pirate Chain as well. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, somebody's working
yeah.
on Sentinel VPN that accepts Pirate Chain right now. So hopefully we'll be able to announce that soon once they're finished. But yeah, I'm definitely going to try out some Zcash VPNs too, because I just love, that's the best thing to use your privacy coins for.
For sure. We don't have our our equivalent of armada.com at the moment. It will be released very, very soon. But yeah, keep in mind or bookmark paywithz.cash, and that's where you're going to find all the places that accept Zcash. So I must thank Amy. Thank you so much for joining the call today, and Dan. In fact, the whole Pirate Chain team. There's many so quirky robots as well. And thank you, Vito, for putting us in touch.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us on. And guys, to the Zcash community, go out and use your Zcash. Go buy something with it today. Go buy a VPN. And then go check us out at piratechain.com.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Amy.
All right, thanks for having us, guys. Everybody have a great day.
Cheers. You too. Bye-bye.